Tantra ruined my sex life. The way I see it is that there's a stiff before Tantra and then there's a stiff after Tantra. I became sexually aware at a very young age. I think it may have been 3 years old. 3 or 4, maybe 5, but very young, very young. And how I became sexually aware was when I asked mum where babies come from, and she told me that it's through sex. So that kind of started off my dialogue in my head and that awareness on sex. Sex was just sex in the family. There's been a lot of shame that has been passed down through the generations, probably through religion, because my background and my family's background is Polish European. So the Polish in particular, Roman Catholic, very outdated when it comes to learning about sexuality and what sexuality and proper sexuality is. At a later stage, when I was probably about 8 years old, a friend of mine molested me, and then I had other experiences throughout my life that were sexually related, more sexual trauma rather than good stories. But nonetheless, sex has been a story of my life. And I was very curious about it, why there was, it just seemed like this forbidden fruit, so I wanted to learn as much about it as possible. When I actually became sexually active when I was 18, I just couldn't get enough, and I wanted to learn as much as possible about sex, how to please the man. I bought DVDs about how to give the perfect blowjob, what sexual positions are the best, all of these. Like, I bought a series of 3 DVDs that were, I'm surprised that we don't have more educational content on sex and sexuality. It was really hard to find at that time, but it was basically run by a sexologist, and they had porn stars that showed everything when the sexologist was talking about it. So that was a really interesting series. When I started nursing, I'd go into the library and look for books about sex. There were probably like 2 or 3 at the time. And then the rest of my education came from porn and from experiences, just like most people. So when I was an adult, became sexually active, I wanted to become as proficient as possible in sex. I learned everything that I could possibly get my hands on about sex. I had a tremendous amount of sex with my partners, and it was great. But what I later discovered through Tantra is that I was driven by my traumas. I was performing, and I was trying to please the other person and neglecting my own pleasure. Yes, I could orgasm. When I first started becoming sexually active, I orgasmed like that. Once I started orgasming, I just couldn't stop. Later on, I lost my ability to orgasm, and I've been working towards getting my orgasms back. But, I could orgasm and just make myself come quite quickly, and I loved it. I love the feeling of being able to orgasm. My first Rabbit vibrator that I got a huge workout every single day. It was a great time of my life, just discovering my sexuality and my body. But it was also me forcing my body to give me pleasure, what I deserve to get. I didn't see my body as this incredible gift that isn't there to just like be my slave. I didn't have a relationship with my body. I just wanted to get whatever I could out of it. And if that meant, 5 to 10 orgasms with my vibrator a day, it was gonna fucking give it to me, all right? And it was very, at times it could get quite violent. I could get quite violent with myself. I processed my emotions by, and stress by masturbation. And that was the type of relationship that I had with myself. Get harder and harder and harder, to the point where there were times where we had sex injuries. My cervix, my ex-partner's cock was really big, and it we could get so hard sometimes that it, you know, one time he split my cervix by accident, or my cervix would keep bleeding after sex, and it just started getting too much. And then when I lost my ability to orgasm, that just made me start to reevaluate myself, my relationship to sex, what it meant to me. And then that kind of led me down the road to Tantra, where I started learning about myself, learning about self-love, learning about my relationship that I have with my body, my relationship to pleasure, or that pleasure isn't something that someone else is there to give you, but you have to start off getting to know your body first and giving yourself that pleasure, getting to know yourself, what turns you on, what doesn't turn you on, what touch do you like, how do you like to be touched. All these things that I never, through all of my years of searching for any kind of sexual education, and I actively searched for it, I never found until I found Tantra. If we don't actively talk about sexuality in a healthy way, it's essentially outsourcing the kids' education to porn companies, and for them to fend for themselves in the world of dating and sex and hookup culture. And because a lot of people don't talk about that, it's repressed. That's what's happening. We're outsourcing our sexual education to porn companies, where porn's getting more and more violent, that are making billions of dollars off us and our naivety. And that's exactly what happened to me as well. I'm not any different in this. Everyone kind of, you can tell when someone has learnt about sex through porn. If you sleep with someone that has watched a lot of porn, you can tell. And I feel like I was one of those people. I was constantly performing. Engaging in hookup culture, doing what empowered women are supposed to do, hooking up with randoms, and then feeling used and abused afterwards. I kind of was like trying to look for connection, but not really getting it from that hookup culture. And then one day I just saw this workshop on Tantra and decided to go to it. And there was literally nothing sexual about it. The human connection that I had with these strangers in this workshop, the eye gazing, really noticing each other, just the energy feeling that we had with each other, just the exercises that we did, really opened my heart up. And I don't even know if I knew what happened to me, but I just got this feeling of so much love, and just like my heart burst open, and I was hooked ever since then. So I was like, what is that feeling? I haven't experienced it before. Now when I look back on it, it was my heart bursting open, and I hadn't felt that for such a long time. So I kept going to these workshops, to these classes, and every time I got something new out of it, and it just made me start to reevaluate my life, really, and what I thought and experienced in regards to human connection. And then learning about sexuality in such a different way was just mind-blowing. There is just so much that we're not taught about sex, and it's exciting discovering yourself in this new way. But when I started discovering myself and all of these differences in what I thought I knew about sex, and then what I didn't know about sex and all the work that I had to do on myself. I never thought that great sexuality meant, and lovemaking meant, self-work. But the best like experiences that I've had have been after I've started learning about all this stuff. So when I started to go on this journey, I actually thought, holy shit, you know what? I don't know enough about sex. Even though I thought I was an expert in it, I actually know jack shit. And I decided to go celibate for nearly a year. And I did. And during that time, I healed my trauma. I reconditioned and I questioned what I was taught by society, by culture, by religion, by porn. And I questioned and really started shifting through what was me and what was someone else imprinting and programming me with, what they wanted to program me with. I healed my traumas. I had a lot of sexual related trauma that I needed to heal and really process, that was still sitting in my body. So I went on that journey. It wasn't easy, but I'm so grateful that I did, because those traumas were driving my sexuality and who I was, how I was behaving sexually. And they no longer drive me anymore. I have more control over my sexual energy now, and I decide who I want to share my sexual energy with and who I don't want to share it with, and I know how to set boundaries. I learned how to set boundaries during that time. I started focusing on learning about self-pleasure, because we can't expect someone else to pleasure us and to provide that pleasure if we haven't explored ourselves, our own bodies. How do we know what we like if we don't explore ourselves? So I did that. I started deconditioning my old habits that I had picked up over the years, how I was so much more violent with myself, and I started becoming softer and slower and gentler and more self-loving with myself and with my body. I started to listen to my body and what messages it had for me, instead of trying to force it to perform for me. I started to learn how to express my voice. You know, porn teaches a very single type of sound, and that's mainly fuck me, and that's kind of how I sound. I'm putting it on a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, I discovered that you can tell when someone watches porn too much, because that's how they perform in the bedroom. That's how they perform in sex, and that's how I was performing in sex. And I realized that that wasn't my true voice. That wasn't what I wanted to bring out into the world when I experienced pleasure. And our vocal cords are connected to our yonis. So being able to really be able to express the true sound of what pleasure feels like in our bodies. You know, now when I experience pleasure, I'm gonna try to tap into my pleasure right now. I make different sounds. The sounds vary, and it feels, it comes and it goes and it sways. And when I tap into my pleasure right now, the sound that wants to come out is So it's such a different sound, different feeling to what I was experiencing before, and it feels so much more juicy and true to what I actually am. And during lovemaking now, I might cry, I might, you know, feel anger arising, or I might want to like make more sound or like more growly sounds. The sounds vary, so it really helps me unblock my throat chakra and find my true voice. I learned that sex can be healing because we store so much trauma in our wombs. You know, the cock can be a beautiful vehicle of de-armoring our pussies and pressing gently on those points where we might be storing trauma. So that's why different emotions might come up at different times. That's why, you know, sometimes I just feel like crying, or I might feel some anger or any kind of other emotions. I de-armor myself with my wand as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cock. I de-armor myself with my fingers. I de-armor myself with my wand, with my beautiful artwork of a wand. With my yoni egg. There's, you know, sex can be healing. It might not necessarily just be all about pleasure. It might be about healing stored trauma, unprocessed emotions. I also learned that sex is about the exchange of our energies. When we have sex with another person, we don't just have sex and that's it. We're energy. So we exchange energy while we have sex. There's a sexual exchange of energy. And so if I have trauma, then the other person is going to get that energetic transfer of my traumas. Or if he has trauma and unprocessed emotions, I'm going to get that as well. So I don't want to be having sex with just anyone, especially because I've done so much work on myself. I don't want to be carrying around someone else's traumas that I don't feel like healing anymore. So I'm very cautious in regards to who I do exchange my sexual energy with. And if I get a gut feeling that it's not right for me, then I'm not going to have sex with them. And, you know, that has meant that I don't have as much sex as I used to. But the sex that I used to have, I can say that it was fun at the time because I didn't know any better. But now when I think about it, it's kind of like McDonald's versus a delicious 4-hat meal at a restaurant. It's different. And I prefer quality over quantity. But if I can find someone that provides that quality, then I will definitely enjoy increasing the quantity of my sex life as well. Because I love making love. I love sex. But at the same time, just because I love it, it doesn't drive me anymore. I can use that creative energy into other projects now. I can express it in different ways, in different creative ways. It's not driving me, and I'm not driven by my traumas. I understand myself. I know myself. So while my sex life may have been ruined by Tantra, I'm actually really grateful for it. It has changed my life for the better. I have cleared my own internal energy of traumas, of programming, of stuff that just didn't belong to me anymore. I let go of so much, and now I can self-pleasure myself, or I can select the lovers that I feel comfortable with, that we can serve each other in a beautiful way, in some way, shape or form. And I'm really fulfilled with that. I'm looking for a diagram for you in this book, Sexual Secrets. If you want to learn more about sexuality, that's a good book. It's definitely blows your mind about what different cultures thought about sex and experience with it. So this is a diagram that shows how sexual energy is exchanged. Exactly. So it's the energy circulation. So we actually exchange energy when we're having sex, and our energy is our life force. It's our life force energy. So it's really important to be able to protect it and be very wise with how you choose to share it with yourself, with the world. That's why also boundary setting is really important, to protect your energy as well. Yeah, it's about self-care and self-love and not taking on other people's energy when you don't need to, because you have enough going on here trying to clear your energy and trying to reach that enlivened, awakened state of being, conscious state of being, which is what happens when you start to work on clearing your traumas, learning about boundary setting, and learning about yourself. So I wrote down some benefits of what I've experienced since learning about Tantra. Well, before, now I am multi-orgasmic by myself with no vibrator. I can have multiple orgasms, which I always actually dreamed of having in my 30s. And then when my orgasms disappeared, I was really upset that I wasn't having any. I love my body even when I put on weight. So right now, and especially over this weird chaos in the world period of life, there has been, a lot of people that have put on weight through stress, and I was one of them. But I still loved myself, even though I put on weight, whereas before I would beat myself up about it. But I loved myself throughout this, which was so unheard of for me before. I am free in how I express myself, and I'm true to me. And this has been so important because I always felt like I was hiding myself and who I truly was. But now I feel like I just express myself, and it's a healthy expression of myself. And I love myself because of it, because I'm being true to myself. I connect with men better on a heart level, and we also stay friends after. Even after we've been lovers, we tend to stay friends, and I love that. But also my friends that I haven't been lovers with, I have a much deeper connection to them because I learned about men during Tantra and how conditioned they are in regards to sexuality, and all the stupid beliefs that we have as women about men as well. They're just as screwed up sexually as women have been. We go hand in hand. It doesn't go one against the other. We go hand in hand. We have to help each other heal. So I have much deeper, beautiful connections with men, and I love that. I have so many awesome brothers in my life. I'm very much more selective with my partners as well, not just wanting to exchange sexual energy with just anyone. I have higher standards for myself and therefore for others. In control of my sexual energy, I can hold firm boundaries. I've healed my trauma, better and understanding of myself and others. I use my voice, not driven by unhealthy ego anymore. I have a much healthier ego. I'm not that toxic feminine that I used to be. And the toxic feminine is alive and well in a lot of women. We talk about toxic masculinity a lot. Well, guess what? There's toxic femininity as well. And I'll do another video about that at some stage. But I don't operate from the toxic feminine anymore. Or I try not to. I'm very aware of her. And I take full responsibility of myself. I take full responsibility for my pleasure, for my experience of life, and how I choose to live my life. I don't try to outsource it to anyone else. And I'm far more fulfilled in how I live and how I choose to live my life. So I take full responsibility for myself. And that is something that I never really did before. I was in a victim mentality for a very long time. Victim mentality can be good as well, and it serves us, and it's important to love it, But if it becomes unbalanced and is there too much, it can screw up our lives. Just like any other part of ourselves that gets out of balance. The victim mentality can be very unbalanced and can really mess us up. So from now on, I take responsibility for myself and no longer reside in the victim mentality for too long, only when it really serves me. I love my life now. Sexuality, Tantra, changed my life. It ruined my old porn star style sex life and gave me a new lease on life. It taught me so much about myself. I had a spiritual awakening because of Tantra. And it just keeps getting better. And I'm looking forward to more people learning about this, and hopefully more men learning about this, and so I can have more amazing lovers. I don't know why I said, I don't know. I just really I'm passionate about telling this, sharing my experience with other people, because it's changed my life so much, and I'm really happy with who I am, and it's just great. So that's it. Tantra ruined my sex life for good and for the better. Okay? Yes. I don't know how to finish this video. Maybe, okay, here. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's some juicy videos coming in the next 2 weeks. I interviewed an amazing sexuality teacher, Bonnie Bliss, who has learnt about sexuality through the tantric community, and also combines her knowledge with modern science and psychology, and has beautiful experts in her courses. So I've interviewed her, and I'm going to release 2 videos with her interviews, and everything that I've been talking about here, the information that you're going to get out of those 2 videos is just going to blow your mind. So if you're interested about my journey, then wait until you hear Bonnie's journey and what she teaches about. This is kind of like an introduction to sacred sexuality, to new sexuality, and to Tantra, and what value it can give us in our lives, where we really start to explore and know ourselves. So subscribe to the channel if you would like those 2 videos. And I look forward to delivering more content for you on taboo topics, on sexuality, on anything that I feel is going to help you along your self-love journey and living a more fulfilling life. So subscribe to the channel, press the ding-a-ling ring button to be notified when I release a new video, and come join me on Instagram as well. I share heaps of stuff on there too. And a website is coming soon, hopefully soon, when I get organized. All right. Oh, someone messaged me. Yay. All right, bye.